As I mentioned, the House adjourned early this afternoon as Republicans could not reach an internal agreement on funding the government. Now, government funding ends on September the 30th. What can we expect in the next 9 days? Will a compromise emerge that resets out-of-control government spending? Joining me now to discuss this, Congressman Scott Perry. He's the chairman of the House Freedom Caucus and was a part of the negotiations. He also serves on 3 House committees, including the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability. He represents the 10th Congressional District of Pennsylvania. Chairman, welcome back to the program.
Well, it's great to be with you, Tony. It's a little wild here in Washington, D.C., but we have actually not adjourned. There is a recess at the call of the chair, so anybody can be called back at any moment. And actually, I have some expectation that this evening we will move a rule vote through the Rules Committee to start moving these appropriations bills. There's been a recent breakthrough, and so I think we'll be taking another shot at it. But of course, we have time requirements. We want time to read the bills, and that doesn't change just because you're in a hurry. So we're going to have to abide by that. But we'll see. We are not done working on this. We've got our sleeves rolled up, and we're sitting in the room for hours and hours talking to our colleagues. And quite honestly, as you rightly put it, Tony, we are in discussions and disagreement, unfortunately, in many cases over the spending. But people like me, generally speaking, the Freedom Caucus members we're tired of seeing our country be bankrupted. Our citizens send all their tax dollars in to spend on things that they don't agree with. And so we have not agreed to, and so far have not agreed to the higher spending levels that were agreed to by the House and the Senate this spring. And so that's the impasse, but maybe we're going to have a breakthrough here shortly.
So one of the big disappointments today after last night's conference meeting was a vote on the DOD authorization bill, the appropriations bill. That failed after there was anticipation that would pass. The rule for that failed on the floor today. Is that what we're anticipating, maybe a breakthrough on that before we get to a CR?
Well, the DOD Defense Department appropriations bill. So the money we're going to spend on defense is about 60% of the budget. And I know that the many in leadership wanted to move that, and they were given assurances by some that they would vote for the rule. People must have changed their minds overnight. And of course, that creates a lot of angst. But it's being kind of held as a hostage because once you move 65% of the spending, all the rest of them are much easier. And so we're looking for ways to find some cuts. Now, I voted for the rule in good faith that we were going to do what we said we were going to do based on last night's meeting. But there's a couple hundred of us here, and you never know what happens with each and every one. So maybe someone was betrayed, and they felt like it was their only way to register their discord. But we got right back in the room. I just actually left that room, and I think there's a new process agreement in place, generally speaking, and I think they're going to start working. Well, they already have started working on it. We'll see if there's going to be a rule vote tonight or tomorrow.
So, Congressman Perry, I mean, I've talked to some of your colleagues. They were heading to the airport to fly home. So I'm assuming being in recess that a vote, you're going to have at least 24 hours so members can get back to vote. So could we see votes over the weekend?
I think that's somewhat improbable now, at least in the Rules Committee, but understand once the rules come out, we want 72 hours to read that. So it looks like there likely won't be any votes over the weekend, but this is Washington, D.C., Tony. As soon as you think something's going to happen, something else happens around here. So I'm reserving judgment, but I want to let you know, I'm right here in Washington, D.C. Like I said, I got my sleeves rolled up, and we're working with our colleagues to try and get something done. We think this is critical, and this is what we were hired to do, and you got to find a way through it. So I know some of my colleagues apparently have left, but they could literally be called back within the hour. And so I don't necessarily think that's prudent, but that's what they're doing.
So, Congressman, you talk about your sleeves rolled up. You've had your sleeves rolled up all week. You've been a part of negotiating between the conservatives and the not so conservative members of the Republican conference. And it looked like there was a way forward with a top line on a temporary CR leading into appropriations with a top line. Where do we stand with that? Is that going to be the way forward?
It does not appear to be the way at this moment. And I just want to clarify, I never really considered it a continuing resolution because it didn't continue anything. It was actually an 8% cut in current spending. So obviously that's not continuing. And on the policy front, we put in there the absolute most righteous border security bill that ever has passed the House of Representatives, which that happened earlier this spring. And we put that on there. So, but apparently some of the members, and I don't fault them, they say, look, you in January and we in January demanded 12 separate appropriations bills, and we shouldn't do anything but 12 appropriations bills. Now, one of the problems with that is it takes some time to do them, and we don't have a lot of time. But these members are saying that is not my problem. We didn't waste the summer. We didn't waste the whole part of the year where we could have been doing them. So we're going to do them now. And I really can't fault them for that, because what often happens is we package everything together. We send it over to the Senate, they put more on it or change it, and then they send this big blob back to us, and you got to vote for things that you hate to get the things that you want. We all want to end that.
That's happened time and time again. And I just want to remind folks, and you can speak to this, in January, you were on the program, others were on the program, discussing the process of selecting a speaker. And there was a lot of angst about going through repeated votes and multiple days. And I was saying that, I said, look, don't get upset. Don't get worried. This is actually good. It's healthy for the process. I think this is healthy. I think if we don't have individuals standing up and saying, we're not going to keep doing things the way we've been doing it, we've got to change it. If we don't do that, we'll never change it.
You're exactly right, Tony. And that's what this is all about. It's been a very constructive, although sometimes difficult conversation. But if we don't change it, we're going to set to do the exact same thing, which has spent our country into bankruptcy. And so we're looking for a way to get through that right now and have our colleagues actually vote on some spending cuts. But I will tell you, Tony, the money that we're spending, we're getting to the point where these decisions are very, very difficult, which we all knew over time we were going to get here. You can't simply keep on spending money that you don't have, and it has gone on for decades around here. And the fruits of that are now finally, unfortunately, ripe to be picked, and they are a sour taste.
You're absolutely right. Scott Perry, thanks for joining us. Very quickly, 15 seconds. How can people be praying into this situation in the hours and days ahead?
I think they need to be praying for us to have wisdom, but also to have some consideration for our fellow person, but also for our country, because these are very, very difficult decisions. But we need the good Lord we need his hand on our shoulder guiding us so that it is to his glory. And they should pray for that patience and that wisdom.
And we will do just that. Congressman Scott Perry, thanks so much for joining us. Always great to talk with you.
Thank you, Tony. God bless you.